Good morning, all. Welcome to the webinar series. Today's topic is sustainable weight loss. Today's speaker, Professor Adrian Kennedy, and I just wanted to introduce Professor Adrian Kennedy. I met him 3 decades back at Tata Steel. He was very passionate to live life active and healthy. And he also have a passion to create healthy world. It was a great time I spent with him traveling from many years. He's created a big impact in Tata Steel, at Apollo hospitals and RAC hospitals to creating a healthy communities. Now he gets up with a purpose of life to create healthy community, and he have a big dream of creating a big impact in many countries to create a healthy world. So I just wanted to introduce professionally, Professor Adrian Kennedy is a multifaceted person. In academics, he has a degree in business, law, and PhD in health studies from USA. He was a founder director of Harvard Institute of Lifestyle Medicine and has been hailed by Harvard Medical School USA as a pioneer in lifestyle medicine. In his college years from 1965 to 73, he was a national champion of India in the 100 and 200 meters and an Asian champion in athletics. He was a member of the team that swam English Channel from England to France, has trekked in Himalayas, and he is black belt karate instructor. He was a member of community that organized the Asian Commonwealth Games in India. In corporate life from 1973 till 1990, he was a director of executive health in Tata Steel, where he receives the Government of India Award for Sports Management. As a managing director of Apollo Life from 1990 to 2012, he pioneered corporate health in India. As a Chief Wellness Officer, RAC Hospitals Group from 2012 till date, he was received several awards including Best Health Researchers in US, UAE, Best Wellness Company in GCC, etc. I wanted to introduce Professor Adrian Kennedy to take a session. Srikanth?
Thank you, Coach Nadeem. Thank you very much. That was a very kind introduction. Thank you. Friends, Dr. Nadeem asked me to talk specifically on the subject of sustainable weight loss. And the reason he asked me to do that was because it is clearly established that 80% of individuals who attempt weight loss regretfully put back a large component of that weight simply because they do not sustain that weight loss. I mean, weight loss is a direction. It is not a place. Sustainable weight loss is a journey, the end of which is the weight that you continue to remain off your body. Now, several years back, I would say as recently as perhaps we have been doing this program over the last 5 years, our weight loss challenge in the Middle East and now in India. And I believe a year or so back, I'm not quite sure, we realized that it was essential not only to lose weight, but to sustain that weight loss. And I recall giving a talk on the subject, which I suggested to my colleagues in India. I'm speaking to you from the UAE now. I suggested to my colleagues in India that perhaps we could replay that talk, at the end of which I would be happy to answer whatever questions there are. So, may I? Our topic today is sustainable weight loss. And as I mentioned earlier, my single learning in my last couple of days of reading on this subject is that this is sustainable weight loss is a journey and not a place. Weight loss is a place, but sustainable weight loss is a journey. Okay, I'll quickly move into my presentation. Before we talk about weight loss, let's try and understand. Before we talk about weight loss, let's try and understand what obesity is. How do we evaluate obesity? What exactly is obesity? Now, there are several ways in which you could quantify obesity or explain obesity, and those are commonly known that if you are to be located or identified as an individual who's overweight and obese or whatever nomenclature you would like to use, well, then you would, if you are a medical professional, you would refer to a BMI, that is the body mass index. And you would say that your body mass index is above 25, you are overweight. Your body mass index is above 30, you are obese. If you are a health professional, you will probably use the height weight range and say that for your height, your weight is beyond the acceptable range. And if you're 10 kgs over, you're called overweight. If you're 20 kgs or 20% over, you would be referred to as being obese. Now, those are some ways, and there are other ways. For example, thank you. For example, you could refer to the body fat range, which means you look at the quantity of fat under the skin. And if those body fat ratios exceed 25%, if you're a male, or exceed 18% if you're a male, or 25% if you're a female, then you are considered over fat. Or simply, you could take your waist measurement. Just take a string or a tape, measure your waist, and if your waist is more than half of your height, you are overweight. And sometimes you could also be obese if it is much more. So these are the physical characteristics of obesity. But at any rate, within our group today, most of us, or 80% of our 25,000 participants, have a BMI of above 30. So we would refer to ourselves as being in the obese range, not simply overweight, but probably slightly obese. So what is the cause of this obesity? How did we get here? Now, it would not be wrong of me to say that genetics has a role to play. I mean, whether this is a major role or a minor role is really not the point here. But the point here is that there are 25 genes in the human system, in the human genetic system, that are specifically relevant to weight or obesity. So genetics is one probability. You could inherit obesity from parental structure. If both parents are overweight, well, then your probabilities of being overweight are more. If one parent is overweight, your probability is reduced by about 50%. But nevertheless, one aspect is genetically endowed. But the second aspect is your family environment. Now, if your family environment promotes excess eating of food and reduce exercise activity, you would inherit these characteristics by and large from your parents, and usually size runs in families very often. Then there are the social factors. For example, if you are in the upper middle class, so you are in a socially upward bracket, or at any rate, if you are not in a level of poverty or in a level of want, usually your food intake is of a quality that is rich in fat, and therefore you have excess calories, or you attend attend many more parties and weddings and so on and so forth, and therefore there's an excess intake of food, and you are busy with your social activities. There's less activity for you to involve yourself in. And then sometimes it could be your eating habits that promote obesity. For example, the simplest and perhaps the one activity in eating that leads to the most obesity is a heavy meal at night. Your nighttime meal is a meal that is set aside for, well, your daytime meals are set aside for activity and utilization. Your nighttime meal is usually a storage meal. So the way you eat food, the quantity of food that you eat at the different meals can influence obesity. Lack of exercise. And of course, in some instances, medical factors, hypothyroidism, and several other factors. So, obesity as a structure is what we've spoken about. We've also defined that the causes of obesity could be genetics, it could be social factors, it could be inappropriate eating habits, it could be lack of physical activity, lack of utilization of calories, or it could be medical factors. So, if you are obese, then or overweight, then how do you manage your obesity? Well, I would imagine that if you were to visit your medical professional, and why should you visit a medical professional if you are overweight? Because the World Health Organization has quantified and identified and stated emphatically that obesity is not simply a social factor, it is a disease. It is caused by some medical condition, and at any rate, it results in a whole range of medical factors. It results in a whole range of medical factors. So therefore, if you were to go to your doctor, he would initially tell you, okay, just go ahead, reduce your diet and increase your exercise activity. That is called lifestyle change. And these two simple sentences, reduce your food intake, increase your exercise activity, will hold you through for the rest of your life, irrespective of any medical condition. But sometimes it is possible that you are overweight, extremely overweight, and as a consequence of your obesity or excess body weight, you get hypertension or diabetes and some other such factors. Now, under those circumstances, it is important not just to deal with the hypertension and the diabetes, but also to deal with the cause, which is obesity. And therefore, your doctor might, you, if required, if essential, give you certain medication that reduces your appetite, and therefore you don't feel like eating. It reduces the absorption of the food that you eat, and therefore, irrespective of what you eat, the calorie utilization is less. Or it could increase your metabolism, and therefore, irrespective of what you eat, it is completely metabolized and very little of it goes into fat storage. But then that is your doctor's decision. But there are medicines that do help you, but you cannot take these medications without a medical prescription and without your doctor's advice. Now, we come to a stage where many of our colleagues in this challenge are more than 40 or 50 BMI, which means more than double of the body weight that they should have according to their height structure. Now, in these circumstances, medicine is extremely helpful, lifestyle is extremely helpful. However, by virtue of the weight being so much, you have a whole range of problems relating to the body structure. You are unable to carry your weight. You are unable to walk. You are unable to move. Under these circumstances, then bariatric surgery or surgery to reduce your weight, to remove the fat, liposuction, for example, or bariatric surgery, which would then reconstruct your digestive structure such that you have less absorption of food, etc., etc., etc. Now, this can drop your weight tremendously by 20 or 30 kgs with a single procedure. And you usually don't require more procedure in a lifetime. Usually, but sometimes it may be necessary. But usually, you don't require a second procedure. But a single act of bariatric surgery can reduce your body weight by 20 or 30 kgs. And this will result in a whole change in your medical structure, in your hypertension, in your diabetes, and so on and so forth. So, surgical management of obesity is not to be frowned upon. But nevertheless, in spite of this, more than 80% of individuals who embark on a weight loss program will regain their weight. And that is why we are talking about sustained weight loss. And that is why we are talking about sustained weight loss. So, what is sustainable weight loss? What do you need to do to keep those kilos off? Very often we put our weight on back. The objective of this particular webinar is to find ways or to suggest ways by which we keep your weight off. So I've given you 4 propositions, or is it 5? 4 or 5 propositions. I would like to make it 5, even while 4 are mentioned here. 1, obesity is a medical situation. You must see your doctor first. Your doctor will advise you regarding your comorbidities. It could be hypertension, diabetes, hypercholesterol, or whatever it is. It's beyond your individual management. You need your doctor to advise you. That is the first step or the first point to keep in mind. The second point to keep in mind is your diet. Your diet is the single largest factor that is relevant in your weight, in your increasing of body weight. It's the single largest factor. So you have to manage your diet. But it warrants a slide by itself, and I will talk about that shortly. The third is activity. The food that you eat, if not utilized in activity, is converted into fat. 50% of the food that you eat every day is used by the body for survival. Internal body processes, digestion, respiration, and so on and so forth. The balance 50% is used by physical activity. If you do not have physical activity, that extra 50% of food or the food that is not utilized by the body and not more than 1,000 calories is used in the body, then the balance amount, and usually we eat between 2,000 and 3,000 calories, is converted into fat. So therefore, exercise activity, and again, warrants a slide by itself. And then there is lifestyle change, emotional eating, stress, anxiety, depression. All these things impact your endocrine system, and all these things increase your appetite, and they make you eat food unnecessarily, unwantingly, but beyond your control. So you have lifestyle change. And the fifth point that I would like to add is what I've said in the beginning. Whatever you do, please understand that weight loss is not a target. It is a direction. And this direction is going to remain with you for the rest of your life. But look at the benefits. Irrespective of whether you lose weight or not, the very fact that you are attempting to do so, the very fact that you are reducing your intake, the very fact that you are increasing your activity is going to give you health. And that health is the best gift you can give yourself. So, we talk about individual slides. Let's talk about nutrition. The very first rule in nutrition is to have a balanced diet. Now, a balanced diet means that you will have sufficient protein, carbohydrate, fats, and fluid in appropriate quantities. So let's take that as it is. Your food should be normal, it should be natural. You should have sufficient fruit and vegetables. You should have sufficient meat. If you're a non-vegetarian, you should have sufficient dairy products. You should have sufficient rice and wheat and fiber. And you should, of course, have sufficient fluid that goes with it. And as the seminars continue, you will have our next talk very likely on nutrition, which is an entire session on nutrition. You will get the details. But I will simply draw one or two aspects to your attention. One, when you choose your food, choose natural versus processed, which means that you will opt immediately for, and this is for good health, this is also for weight loss, to having foods that are wholesome. Fruit and vegetable is a good choice and a daily necessity, as opposed to the hamburger and Coke, which is empty calories and has lower nutritional value and a lot of chemicals and additives. So, natural foods versus processed foods, you will go for the natural foods. Whole grain versus processed, which means that brown bread or whole wheat bread or whole grain bread or chapatis or whatever you would like to call it is better than processed maida. Brown rice is better than white rice. Wheat is better than what we refer to as maida. So anything that is whole, has fiber, it improves your motility, it cleans your digestive tract, and it is good for you. Of late, the Harvard Medical School and other such institutions are emphasizing that one of the essential rules of good health, one of the essential rules of nutrition is home cooked versus commercial, which means that you eat food at home 6 days a week because it's healthy, because it's nutritious, because it has no chemicals or less chemicals. Of course, you can celebrate with the family a meal a week or some such thing. And the second aspect that I would like to emphasize in nutrition is calories and portion control. Now, it would serve little purpose for me to tell you simply, take a single plate, fill that plate, do not go back for seconds. Just do not go back for seconds. That is one good rule to keep in mind. The second simple good rule to keep in mind is the meal at night is a reasonably unnecessary meal, especially for individuals who are morbidly or grossly overweight. Because that is the meal that converts all your food into fat. So if you were to talk in terms of dieting, I would simply say do not eat the nighttime meal. Do not go for second servings at all. And that itself would answer all your questions on how much should I eat, etc., etc. And the third is to keep in mind this, that there are only 3 or 4 diets in the world that are medically recommended as good. And these diets have stood the test of time. The Mediterranean diet that gives you everything, including a glass of wine, if you would like to have that. It gives you a little bit of cheese, a little bit of meat, a little bit of fruit, a little bit of vegetable, a little bit of fiber, a little bit of wheat, a little bit of bread, a bit of everything. Is the best diet that you can have. It has stood the test of time. You could have the NASH diet. It is a medically related diet. It is similar to the Mediterranean diet, but it manages your blood sugar levels. It manages your hypertension. You could go back to the ancient act of fasting. You know, in many countries, one day in the week, they do not eat any food. They only have fluid. Just one day in the week. You have your last meal at night and then you get up in the morning. You just have water or something similar, a soup perhaps, or maybe a fruit juice, not from the market, but juiced from fruits available at home. And you have just 2 or 3 of those through the day. You have saved yourself 2,500 to 3,000 calories, which is half a kg or 1 pound of fat that would have otherwise accumulated. Nowadays, of course, we talk in terms of intermittent fasting, which is similar, except that you don't eat a meal for about 8 to 16 hours in a day. And as a consequence, the body goes into the mode of utilizing existing body fat as a means of energy. That's a diet that has got a lot of medical acceptance. And then there is the low calorie diet, which means that you eat less, and a high fiber diet, which means fruit and vegetable. And then, of course, there is the diet for those who would like to have it, the vegan diet, which is vegetarian, and the raw food diet, which is uncooked foods. And I have to tell you, while the raw food diet is, to my mind, a little extreme, it is probably the most effective in reducing your blood sugar and hypertension. The vegan diet is excellent. Excellent. Vegetarian foods are excellent. Remember that protein can also come from grain and pulses and gram and dals and legumes and beans. A vegan diet is not without protein. So these are some thoughts to keep in mind. Now, this slide is going to be available with you through the next 3 months. So have a look at it and remember that this is a simple consideration of diet. Now, what does diet do? It takes in food. It takes in food, which is then evaluated in terms of calories. The body requires 1,500 calories or 1,000 calories to live. It requires about, 5 to 800 calories at the rate of 100 calories per 8-hour working day. So that would make 800 calories. You put the two together and you have 1,800 calories, but your intake is 2,500 calories. If you are a normal urban individual, you're eating 2,500, you are utilizing 800. The excess 500 or 600 calories is converting into fat on a day-to-day basis, unless you do your exercise. Now, there are two types of, my health indicates activity versus exercise. Now, in earlier days, and I'm talking 100 years and more back, when we didn't have our cars and automobiles and escalators and lifts and things like that, we did a lot of walking. We did a lot of carrying. Now, this activity of walking through the day, of lifting the things that you have to carry in the shopping malls or wherever, itself burns many, many calories. So you have to be physically active. And not only that, it moves your joints, it moves your bones, it strengthens your bones, it gives agility to the human body, it improves your respiration, it strengthens your heart, it does so many things. So physical activity through the day is an excellent idea. And I'm only telling you things that will help you to sustain your weight loss on a day-to-day basis. Activity is exercise without exercising. Simply put, maybe my own definition, but simply put. But what is exercise? Exercise is a programmed activity over a period of time that covers all the requirements of the body. So it is specific, it is effective, it is well directed. Activity is anything that helps you to move. That itself is an exercise program. It's called functional exercise. Leave it aside. Now let's talk about exercise. Before I even talk about what an exercise program is, you know, I frequently say that there is no better magical pill in the whole world. And I say this to my pharmaceutical colleagues also, that there is no better medical pill in the entire pharmaceutical industry that can enhance health more than a single pill of exercise for 1 hour a day. Now, exercise is going to increase the heart rate, it's going to improve your circulation, it is going to burn fat, it is going to strengthen the muscles, it is going to improve your joints, it is going to reduce your blood sugar, it is going to reduce your blood pressure, it is going to strengthen your heart and prevent heart attacks, and so on and so forth. Exercise has profound benefits. It reduces stress, it helps you to sleep, and so on and so forth. So, how do you exercise? Stamina increases the heart rate, strengthens the lungs. Aerobic is slow, moderate exercise over a period of time. Walking, cycling, swimming are good examples. Anaerobic is where you play a game of football, you play a game of tennis, you play a game of squash, and so on and so forth. Over a period of time, you have specific moments of high intensity activity, which is not a good idea for individuals who are overweight. And therefore, I would prefer that individuals who are overweight simply use aerobic activity, walking, cycling, swimming, and so on and so forth. Now, strength, exercises for strength increase the muscle tissue, and increased muscle tissue increases metabolism, and increased metabolism utilizes fat as energy and sugar as energy, and therefore you lose weight and improve in health. You can do freehand exercises, simple routine body movements, which are good for you. You can use your body weight to strengthen your muscle, which is good for you. But I can tell you this, if you want to double your metabolism, if you want to improve your metabolism, and you are overweight, and as a consequence of which you cannot go for a walk and things like this, it is hard on the knees, I believe that you are the perfect candidate for weight training. And therefore, I would recommend very strongly, my friends, that those of us who are overweight must join a gym and let us do intense exercise activity in a stationary location, which will improve your muscles and improve your metabolism. And then flexibility, you can do freehand exercises, of course, but there is nothing as profound as yoga. The breathing techniques, the meditation techniques, the stretching techniques, and you do each movement only once or twice, but in joint mobility exercises, you do each movement 10 or 15 times. I strongly recommend yoga. So, in my book, walking, swimming, etc., weight training, and yoga are excellent exercises for those of us who are overweight. How do you get fit? Frequency is how often, I would say 6 days a week. Intensity is moderate, don't overdo it. And time is 1 hour. Well, 1 hour, morning or evening, or even better, morning and evening. 1 hour of exercise activity will burn in an obese individual 500 calories. 500 calories over a week is half a kg. In a month, it's 2 kgs. So exercise is an important activity. Lifestyle change. I'm going to give you, I believe, 4 aspects. We've already spoken about diet and exercise, so I will not touch upon it. Medical screening. You must go to your doctor to know your numbers. What is my blood pressure? What is my blood sugar? What is my blood lipid levels? You must know this. How is my kidney functioning? How is my liver functioning? How is my heart functioning? You must know these things. You owe it to yourself. We have profound knowledge around the world. We know exactly how far the moon is. We know how fast a plane flies. I mean, we know so many things, but what do we know about our own bodies? We need to know our own numbers. What is my height? What is my weight? What is my blood sugar? What is my hypertension? What is my blood pressure? We need to know these things about ourselves, because then it allows the professional to help you to plan the best way forward. And it will be different for different people. I will have a different program. Somebody else will have a different program. So you must tailor make your program to your needs. And then, of course, we come to the mental aspects. Stress, anxiety, depression. These things cause a whole lot of endocrinic changes in the system. It messes with the endocrine system. It increases your adrenaline. It does everything. I mean, it messes up with your entire structure. Your chemicals in your body go haywire, and as a consequence, you suffer from a whole lot of ailments such as hypertension or diabetes, etc., etc. And it all starts with stress. Much of it starts with stress, including overeating, which comes from stress-related factors. So stress will come from work, stress will come from home, personality, routine crisis. Problems at home will cause you stress. Problems at work, insufficient salary, etc., will cause you stress. Ambitious, aggressive, competitive, result-oriented personalities will have stress. The daily routine where you have too little time to sleep, too much of work, too little family and personal time will cause you stress. Crisis, illness in the family, financial crisis, legal crisis, emotional crisis, children, parents, all cause stress. And all this messes with your internal structure, your internal hormones and chemicals. And therefore, you'll have to look for solutions. There is no better solution than your counselor, your psychologist. They will advise you on how best to modify and solve these issues. And then, of course, and I might tell you that I've had the occasion to go to a counselor, and my counselor has spoken to me about sleep, the great benefits of sleep, nature's way of managing stress. She has told me how exercise burns the stress hormone of adrenaline. She has told me how relaxation reduces the heart rate, improves the lung function. She has told me about the value of friends and family and social support. To know that there is someone out there who's going to help you to solve your problems reduces my stress. Mental well-being is an important aspect in the overall aspect of sustainable weight loss. And then, of course, behavior change. In a single sentence, what does this mean? It simply means please avoid excess alcohol and no smoking. It's going to do you no good whatsoever. There could be conflict as to whether wine is good or whiskey is better. Is it good for the heart? Is it bad? But at least there is discussion on those points. There is no question about smoking, friends. There is nothing good about smoking. You have to opt out of it. And if at all you want to make excuses for your evening glass of wine, moderation. If you insist on moderation and exercise, you have to insist on moderating your habits. And therefore, we come to what is my last slide. Why do we want to undertake a sustainable weight loss program? Only for the benefits, the health benefits. This is the greatest gift you can give yourself, the gift of health. The fact that you will lose weight is an additional benefit. The fact that you are doing diet and exercise is going to give you so many benefits. So, the reason why you need to embark on a sustainable weight loss program is to maintain continuous weight loss year after year. That is the objective that we are setting. I can tell you this. In doing that, you will give yourself the gift of good health. So the reason is good health and weight loss. How do you do this? How do you manage a sustainable weight loss program? 2 or 3 simple factors. One is your diet. I mentioned it to you. And if you were to ask me in one sentence, quit eating your meal at night. You will reduce 300 to 500 calories. Keep in mind all the other good things that you have to do. Exercise. Please make sure that you are physically active and you do your exercise. Now, you can do several forms of exercise. Swimming is excellent. Sitting cycling is excellent. Aquarobics is excellent. There are so many things that you can do. Yoga is excellent. Weight training is excellent. Who says that you cannot exercise simply because you are overweight? Avoid some exercises. Excessive walking and running and all these factors are not good. But the exercise is perfect and you can cover the same distances without moving out of your room while watching TV. So exercise is important. Yoga, weight training, and some form of low impact aerobic exercises. Lifestyle change, sleep, important. Manage your stress, important. Keep your family support. Talk to your doctor. These are important things. Now, a few tips. You have to understand the importance of weight loss. Remember, the more you exercise, the more frequently. Exercise is not as important as regularity of exercise. The more regular you are with your exercise, I mean, the importance of weight management is giving yourself the gift of good health. Simple. That is one point. The second is you need to get medical advice. When you get medical advice, you will get specific tips tailored to your specific needs. It is perfectly possible that the great benefits of modern medical science will itself benefit you by reducing your weight, either medically or surgically. Set realistic goals. What is a realistic goal? Let us assume you talk in terms of 2 kgs a month by doing these simple activities I've spoken. That is 24 kgs in a year. Now, that is a great weight loss. Slow and steady progress, long-term mindset. I've already told you. Slow and steady, moderation, long-term means lifelong. Maintain motivation. How can you maintain motivation? Well, you can participate in the weight loss challenge once every year. That's helpful. You can join the gym. Now that is helpful. You can go for an exercise class with your other colleagues who are also overweight. Keep the community moving. Keep yourself moving. And finally, celebrate success. And I know that you will have it. Friends, if Dr. Wilku was in the same room as me, I would see that he's looking at his watch. So with this, I believe that I have to thank you for the occasion of allowing me to speak with you on sustainable weight loss. Keep in mind, Meet your doctor, get to know your needs. 2, manage your diet, eat less, skip your nighttime meal. Number 3, exercise activity 5 to 6 days a week is so important to burn those extra calories. Sleep, managing social contacts, having happiness and not messing with your endocrine system is a good way to do it. These can give you what I believe is sustainable weight loss. You will lose weight and you will continue to lose weight year after year. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for a very nice session. So I can understand getting weight loss is very easy, but to sustain it for lifelong is very, very challenging and important. Very good session on how to maintain the lifelong sustainability on weight. We can see the examples like Maradona. He was a superstar, fit guy, but again he put on a lot of weight. So I have seen people who into sports or anything, maintaining lifelong sustainability is a challenge for many of us. And as you explain how to maintain, like, join the weight loss challenges, go for marathons, join the diabetic challenges or fitness challenges. So we should have these kind of activities and surround with people or activities throughout our life to motivate us to join these kind of programs. Sir, as generations are changing, so I have one question. So today we call it Gen Z, or today the life has changed. So people want everything shortcut. So I just wanted to ask you a simple rule to keep themselves fit, because a lot of people nowadays spending time in traveling, they don't have access to gym or anything. Number two, a lot of people are habituated to ordering online like Swiggy and Zomato. So in case they are ordering, what kind of food they should order, or what should food they have to follow, the choices of food, as well as calisthenics exercises, which is old fashioned, but they can do anytime, anywhere, while traveling, whatever they do. Just can you tell us? So it will be important for us to sustain our body weights.
Dr. Nadeem, I believe your question is that in the current generation,
Yes.
They have little time and they have a very short attention span.
Yes.
They also tend to work and perhaps do less exercise. And rather than cook, they tend to order online. And your question is, how do we keep this generation healthy?
Yes.
I think that is probably what your question was. Well, let's start with the first part. They seem to have little time for exercise. And therefore, what exercise can you do that is going to keep you fit and at the same time maintain the integrity or the interest of this young generation? I believe that you probably have several choices over here. This generation obviously is a young generation, and that is what you are talking about. They have their own passions. Some of them do go for weight training. Some of them go for competitive sport. Some of them tend to participate in exotic activities like yoga or Tai Chi. They seem to have a multitude of interests. And therefore, my answer to that question simply would be, whatever is your passion, whatever is your interest, is what you should pursue, because that is the only thing that is going to sustain you. So this young generation does have, now I have grandchildren who are in this particular generation and they participate in some form of activity. There are many youngsters who are couch potatoes and do not in any way participate in exercise activity. And that is a no-no. You have to do some form of activity. There is no such thing as sedentary exercise. There is no such thing. The human body is programmed to exercise and to move. So the young generation can, if they choose, go for weight training. If they choose, go for competitive sport. If they choose, go for running or swimming or cycling or
calisthenics,
do yoga or anything. But my answer to your question is simple enough. There is no substitute for activity.
Yes.
No matter what this young generation says, you have to do it. Now, are there any any activities that can be compressed in 1 minute? I doubt it. I believe that you need at least 30 minutes a day, 30 to 45 minutes a day, at least 3 to 6 days a week. And I don't believe there's any substitute for that. Now, that is the answer for exercise. Now we come to the next question, the next part of your question. And that question dealt with, rather than cook, they would prefer to call in for food. Is there any such thing as a healthy diet? Now, I was traveling the other day and I came across McDonald's and I had no choice but to eat over there. But I can tell you this, that McDonald's has and in several other fast food, for want of a better name, locations, has a whole range of healthy diets. I mean, you can order a vegetable burger, you can order vegetables with your food, and you can seriously look at it. But there are 2 points over here. One is, what is the healthiest diet? The healthiest diet is the diet that is cooked at home. That is your healthiest diet. And this has been clearly established by Harvard, that the food that is cooked at home has the least commercial negative impact on the human body. And therefore, that is your choice number one. And choice number two, if you need to call in for fast foods, then please go ahead and call in for foods for what the fast food institutions refer to as healthy food. I mean, surely you can call in for a fruit juice rather than a Coke, even while a fruit juice is not a good idea when it comes to diabetes. However, you do have high fiber fruit juices. You could go for that. You could call in for your hamburger, of course, but you could have a whole range of vegetables with it. So I believe that these are some of the things that you have to do. But, you know, the human body has evolved over several centuries, and I think we have not moved away from the basics, that we are a human machine. We need activity. We need healthy food. I'm sorry I haven't been able to answer your question and give a young generation the magic pill that they want. The pill is exercise.
Absolutely.
The pill is healthy vegetables and fruit. That is the pill. It takes a different shape. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. So I just wanted to add a few points here. Like, I interact with so many senior executives nowadays who always on the run. So I tell them that, why don't you use staircase instead of lift? If you are in an airport, instead of waiting for a flight, you can walk. So you can add activity. So as you rightly said, keep moving. The whole community has to move. So what I request everybody to just start moving whenever you get time, even if you are talking on phone, just walk and talk so that some activities happen. So you have to include some activity throughout the day, number one. Number two, as sir rightly said, you can go and select the right choices when you don't have the time to cook or anything, and add a lot of dry fruits into your food, vegetables, raw fruits, so that you will pick up any good food instead of cooking. So now the whole generation is running, and they want everything. At the same time, they want to be healthy. So these are the few tips what I thought of giving. And your last point, keep the community moving. So great work you are doing to motivate people to start moving, to do some activity through weight loss challenge, through diabetic challenge, through fitness challenge. And number two, you said celebrate the success. This is very, very important for any individual, whether it's in sports or in life. You have to celebrate your success. So whenever you look back, the celebration, it will give you more motivation. So thank you very much for a nice session. Thank you, sir.
Dr. Nadi, what I love about you is you ask the question, and it's very kind of you to ask the question, but you know the answer. Well done. And you get great value added. Well done. Congratulations, and thank you so much for having me on today.
Thank you, sir. Okay, friends, we'll meet you next week, same time, with the medical topic of cosmetic surgery, obesity. So how this is going to be beneficial, or what are the plus and minus with these surgeries. So that session we'll meet on next week to discuss. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.